Hi, and very good afternoon to you. It's Gene from maverickstar Observatory. Guys, I've discovered something very interesting. Now, you know what they say, don't they? You can sometimes see things there plain in sight right in front of you and not make any connections of relevance at all. And I think that's sometimes true. And even for me, studying this subject for over 10 years now, good decade at least, sometimes even I overlook the obvious. And I want to share that with you today. I think you're going to be very surprised of what, I came to the conclusions on over the last 24 hours of looking at a particular chart. Before I do, I want to just level with you guys. How do we improve this situation with, raising funds? Because I want to be honest, I really hate mentioning this in every single video that we do. And more than that, I hate the comments that come up in that comment section, because I think, you guys don't really know me. I'm not that person, and I'm certainly not guilty of what you're accusing me in there, of being, begging and things like that. I think they know what the raw nerve is, and all I do these days is I just get the general drift of what their comments are about, and I delete them. I'm genuinely trying to say to you guys is, look, we've got something great. We've established almost from the dirt upwards. We've got an observatory which tracks the magnetic North Pole. In just a few days, we're going to pinpoint the location for you guys to keep you updated with that. We also regularly get out a lot of other equipment, like we did today, this morning, like atmospheric CO2 monitors, oxygen monitors, muon detectors. We look at magnetometer data, and as well as a lot of other Earth-related anomalies like earthquakes, volcanoes. If you go on our website, you can even see Schumann frequency data, as well as data from other observatories as well. We've tried to pack it all in on this website for you, but we struggle every day, with the majority of people that view the information. And I know some of them have been, viewing the information and not contributing for quite some time now. So I am putting it out there to you guys. What do I do, to raise money for this observatory? Give me some ideas, and I can outrule straight away any support from YouTube. They will not allow us to get advert revenue on our videos. Full stop. They said the content of this channel is not suitable for the viewers, and therefore they can't support it. And if you look into their community guidelines, you'll understand why that is. It's because we go against, the grain with what the governments around the world and their policies are in relationship to CO2. So, I'm up for options. I don't know what to do anymore, or to say, to encourage people, to fill out that form to make a PayPal donation. I really don't know what to do anymore. And, let's face it, even I do as well. If I go for a meal, I leave a tip. All that person's done is brought that plate out from the kitchen to my table, yet I still leave a tip. And I'm not going to go there. This service charge and this gratuity charge, now that they throw on the bill without even asking, they just take it. I don't mind, being grateful for the service and leaving a tip, but when they just take it and claim that they're entitled to it, they've done a good service themselves, and they're the ones saying that now you've got this added to your bill, it just does my head in. I think it changes the dynamics of being, showing gratitude. You want to give it that person that helped you, not the whole staff. You don't want to share it with the manager or whatever. It doesn't matter, a little deviation there. I've done the Earth Alpha at a glance for you on the website if you want to go over there and have a check that out. But I'm trying to level up with you and say, how do we get 99% of the people to become more proactive and support us a little bit more. Anyhow, let's get into the video. Let's leave. We'll just mention the link again at the end of the video, and we'll see how we get on. If you want to come up with some suggestions for me, just put them in the comments. I do read them all. And wow, wasn't that an amazing comment section yesterday on our platform? Some really good comments, and coming from some real intellectual people. You can just tell by the quality of the comment. Let's get on and show you what I come to the conclusion on yesterday. So we've been talking about a lot over the last few videos about the returning back to a glacial period, and I've showed this chart many times. And what's the big issue here? Okay, I'll come straight out and clean with it. If you wanted a litmus test as to whether we are, definitely going back into a glacial period, well, why not use CO2 falling as that litmus test? It would be an air trigger litmus test as well, because CO2 is a trace atmospheric gas. So if anything affects even the smallest atmospheric gases, then you're on target. So of course, if we wanted confirmation right now that we was going back into a glacial period, we'd just look to see if CO2 was falling. And you might recall, I've been talking about this now, that we have for a good 15 months seen exactly that. CO2 is beginning to fall. And we took a measurement this morning with the atmospheric CO2 at 422. And if you take the average over the last 15 months, you'll see that CO2 is falling, and that information is archived on our website. You can see that for yourself. But I want to say this: look what happens when it peaks. It's not like other charts. This is almost like a light switch. When the climate changes, CO2 follows. So if we get warmer climate on the earth, CO2 follows. If we get cooler climate, again lagging behind, CO2 follows. So if we are exactly right now going back into a glacial period, we should expect to see CO2 fall. I've got to say this, when you look at the right hand side of the chart and you see CO2 at 400 and even like we measured it today, 422 parts per million, it's off the chart. Why isn't it off the chart in any other interglacial period that we've experienced on the planet? Why isn't it the case? I don't think that when they done the ice core samples, they were looking closely enough at the end of the changing cycles between interglacial and glacials. And the reason why I say that is because you would be looking for a needle in a haystack in a very short range of time. When we're looking at 100,000 year core samples, can you imagine how fine and a very fine sliver we'd have to look at to get the same amount of CO2 that we experience now? I say that it is in the ice samples, but because the ice samples are compacted that tight, that it would be very difficult to find the peak in their older cycles going back 450,000 years like we see here. And the only reason why we're picking up atmospheric CO2 at the levels we are today is because we can measure it on everyday basis. We're not looking for that very tiny sliver in the ice core sample. But I'm sure if they went back and done the core samples and zoomed in on just the peak at where CO2 is at its maximum and starts to decline, you might find that CO2 back in the previous glacial periods and interglacial periods where they change, you might find that information was the same as what we're getting today. In other words, at the end of the cycle where it came from, where the earth started to cool the last 100,000 years ago, when it started to cool, there was a peak in CO2, but it's very difficult to find it because the sliver of the core sample that we're looking at is very fine. but it's there. I'm sure it's there, and that's why, you know, we don't see it on these charts. And there it is. You know, the big realization for me was, oh my God, there's our air trigger and our litmus test. All we have to do to see, or to confirm that we're going back into another glacial period, is, you know, just follow CO2 levels. I know what a lot of people would say, well, we could just look at the ice caps rebounding on the northern and southern hemispheres. Yeah, that would be a good one. Well, let's face it, over the last 10 years, yeah, we've actually seen, you know, 1.8 million square kilometres of ice return just to the Arctic Circle alone. So we have, you know, the primary observation confirming a return back to the glacial period. We have the second, which is now the fall in CO2 levels, and then we have the historical record as well, going back over 500,000 years, and we can see where we are on that historical record. So there is 3 confirmations that we're returning back into a glacial period. 1, the historical record. 2, CO2 falling, and 3, Arctic ice regaining. Okay, let's get on with the Earth Alpha at a glance view, so you can have a look at some of the other anomalies that have took place, and we'll wrap it up for the day. You go and enjoy some time with your family, and we'll catch up with you in the next couple of days and do the pole shift news. Let's go and have a look though, before we go, at what's been happening with our Earth. So here we are on Earth Alpha at a glance on our website, dedicated to all these anomalies, primarily the magnetic pole reversal. Let's get into it, guys. So atmospheric CO2 parts per million measured this morning at 422 parts per million. Again, that's a little drop. I think it was 139 in the historic record. We got atmospheric oxygen up slightly, 20.68. Nothing to worry about there. There's the longitude and latitude of the latest geomagnetic pole position over the northern hemisphere. Again, in 3 days time we'll have a new one of those for you. The radiation background count in microsieverts was 00.15. Volcanoes in eruption slightly up, 29 around the world. I'll be honest, you know, usually we're at around about 25, 26, so they are starting to gradually go up, guys, so we'll keep our eye on that. The largest earthquake, there it is, over the last 24 hours, you can see is at 6.8. Muons per hour per square metre here in the UK, 519 muons per square metre. In Canada, we've left it at what the last reading was, at 847. Kendall should have had, I believe by now, his muon detector back in Canada with him. He's very likely running it up for a week, and then he'll be sending us the muon count on that. Sunspot numbers remain the same as what they did a week ago at 9. I know daily they change, but you know, the last time we done this, there was at 9, they're still at 9. Geomagnetic field is quiet at the moment, and solar x-rays are normal. And you know what, guys, we know that the jet streams are unstable. We have subtropical mixing with polar, both northern and southern hemispheres. We also have interchange with the both tropics over the northern and southern hemisphere coming across the equator. You know, a new anomaly that we've not seen on a common occurrence like we have over the last 5 years. So, you know, things are gradually ramping up. You know, we're looking at big inertias when we're talking about planetary mechanics, and you know, they do take time, but you know, they're like a glacier. You know, it's a massive tonnage of frozen water that is gradually melting, and in its melt it moves gradually every year. You can measure it by inches and feet a year, which means, you know, it does move. You just have to have the resolution to notice its movement. So guys, you know, just to recap quickly, you know, CO2 can be used as a litmus test to see if we are going back into a glacial period. And because it's a trace gas, you know, we're talking about an air trigger litmus test. Of course, if the climate is cooling, we know that CO2 falls when it does. If we're starting to see CO2 fall like we are, then we know that's confirmation that the climate is cooling. If we start to see a rebound in ice over the Arctic Circle, then we know over a prolonged period of time, which it has the last decade, it's been following suit a pattern of decline. Then we know that's signs the climate is changing in favour of a glacial period. And if we've got the historical record which shows us where we are and what we expect next, and that suggests that we are returning back into a glacial period, well, then it's that case, isn't it? If it looks like a duck, it sounds like a duck, then it must be a duck. Or you could simply say this is Occam's razor. Guys, there's a link down there. Consider chipping in a little bit. We're a small observatory. We're not funded by any corporations, and at the end of the day, it's your choice. You can decide what you want to fund. If you want to fund something, it's your money. Help us. I'm sure some people get quite a lot out of these, if not yourselves. I won't go on anymore. Link is down there, guys. You have an amazing time. Spend it with your family today. Do something you don't usually, while you can. As always, bye for now.